and good morning. My goodness, look at all the happy, beautiful faces on Friday. I know you guys are all excited probably about Friday night happy hour. I know what you guys are thinking. Yes, tonight at 6 o'clock happy hour. Yes, yes, yes. Hey, listen, we got a great call lined up for you today. We're so excited for this young lady to come back again. As you know, she was here last Friday. We just got so overwhelmed with the great teaching she gave us. She hails in the Sacramento area, her and her husband. She had, matter of fact, she was at happy hour with her pink drink last Friday. I loved it. Her girly drink. Her and her husband, Brad, they own several businesses in the Sacramento area. They have one of the businesses, a contracted business. They also are platinum regional vice president in ACN. She's a great coach, a great teacher, a wonderful friend. She has built her business throughout the United States. She's full-time at it. And her, a dear friend of mine, and not only that, her husband and I have a love for one another, if I could say that. Some of you got a treat last Friday when he sprung across the back, and I didn't see it. I was flipping through the channels here. But I want to thank her for coming back to be able to bless our group and everybody else's organization with some knowledge that she's gained over the years. Without further ado, from the Sacramento area, Platinum Regional Vice President, Mr. Keri Roeder. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Thomas. How are you?
I am doing fine. That I see your beautiful, happy face.
Aw, that's so sweet. So I'm very excited and honored to be a part of this call. And I was laughing, actually, Mr. Thomas, as for those of you who were on last Friday night, hopefully you got to experience a little bit of the fun that you can have when you become friends with other people and leaders and whatnot. And for those of you who did get to see the glimpse of my husband, that was a result of the comment that Mr. Thomas had made. And yeah, that was something I've never seen before and hope I never see again. And the funny part was he was sober. It's just fun to be able to have fun like that. And you know, I was thinking about it. One of the traits that I love about my husband, and we had talked about this a couple calls ago, is confidence in yourself. And for a man as strapping and strong as my husband is, to be able to have the self-confidence to go put on a dress to be funny, and then walk out to a webinar, because I told him how many were on, and I told him it was national. I didn't know it was recorded, whatever, but to have that level of inner strength and confidence to be able to do something like that is tremendous. So Mr. Turali was also on that call and apparently missed it. So apparently he went back and watched the recording and did a screenshot and sent it to Mr. Tony Kupitz. So, oh yeah. Oh, I know Tony's gotten a kick out of it though. So, but you know, it's really interesting. It's like I said, it's ACN, like I said last Friday. This is, yes, we're here to teach you how to make money in the business and teach you all those things. And at the same time, there really is much more to what it is we're doing if you allow, you know, the experience to evolve into that. So, but yeah, so it made me giggle that he did that. But at the same time, I hope that you all can see what I was talking about a few calls ago about being so self-confident that, you know, you can kind of put yourself out there and really not care what other people think because you're so in tune and okay with who you are. So anyway, so hopefully y'all enjoyed that last Friday. That was, oh my goodness, shocking. But so I'm really excited actually to kind of engage with all of you today to see how many of you did what we talked about last week in that acquired an accountability partner. And did you have that discussion about what level of success you're looking to have and how quickly, so that your accountability partner could hold you accountable accordingly, right? And then I'm also excited to know if anybody practiced that edification template I gave you, and if anybody used it in opening your PBR webinars. Any of you who have the privilege of being able to open for Mr. Thomas or any of the other amazing leaders that he uses to do the BOM presentations, if you used some of it during your inviting, because, you know, we create value in our invitation for people to meet somebody versus see something. So those are my questions. So I'm just curious if anybody has an experience they want to share, or a question, a follow-up question based on those, any of the topics I've talked about at all. Any questions, any experiences anybody wants to share? All right, the gallery is quiet. Oh wait, I have to turn on the chat.
You know what, Ms. Roeder, why don't we talk about maybe your first week or two in when you first got started? If you can remember back, what did you do in your first week or two when you first got started in your business for ACN?
So I know that many of you, and I know she's been on here, many of you have heard Mrs. Jocelyn Driscoll's story, right? Out of the gate, all that money, right, in first 30 days, blah, 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 okay? So for those of you who've been in this for more than 30 days and maybe didn't have that level of out of the gate success like Mrs. Driscoll has, that's why I'm here. Okay, so let me bookend this. We hit regional vice president in 3.5 years. Okay, so let me just kind of start there. Let me go to the beginning. So when I first got started, I'll remind you all of my story. I was invited to see AACN in April of 2010 by a younger cousin of mine. I said, no, thank you, click. And here's why. His invitation was awful, absolutely awful, okay? He called me. Ironic thing is Brad and I were talking about what 5th business we were gonna start or buy, literally. And I was praying to my angels to ask them to get Brad to stop talking because there was no 8th day in the week. Where was I gonna find more time for a 5th business, okay? But we needed more money. So as I'm asking I'm praying to my angels to ask Brad to stop talking, my cousin Michael calls. So I interrupt, I answer, and we're having a normal cousin conversation. He never calls me. So I'm like, oh my God, are you having a 5th kid? What's going on? This is so exciting, you're calling. So we're having a normal cousin conversation. And then all of a sudden he switches to, hey, Keri, I really respect you and Brad. It was like just really a weird thing he did. He switched, right? And so based on his being weird, whatever he had asked me, I said, no, thank you, click. So that was on a Wednesday. That Sunday, my entire family saw the business model. I refused to see it just because I was ornery. 3 weeks later, when I saw the information, my whole family had already gotten started. And it was on a Tuesday night. I was at my parents' house. And I had met Mrs. Renee Wagner, okay? And she's amazing. For those of you who haven't met her, she was a top producing regional director at the time. Now she, anyway, so when I decided to get started, I was working 7 days a week without a day off. I was volunteering in my daughter's classroom every single day in the mornings. I was the room mom, so I would throw all the parties, and I liked throwing them, so we had a lot. I was on the site council of my daughter's school, so I did volunteer for that. I was on the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce of my town. I also chaired an ambassador team for the chamber, which meant 4 or 5 extra hours volunteer I did for the business community, and I belonged to a community service club. So I did not have time to add into ACN. So as I was talking to Mrs. Wagner about what to do, so mind you, I'm a traditional business owner, and I also have my BA and my master's. So I'm educated. So as I was trying to navigate like the lack of time, but I needed the money, she encouraged me to go to training. And so unfortunately, here's the truth, that was Tuesday. Wednesday morning, because I hadn't gone to training yet, Wednesday morning, I am in the parking lot at my daughter's school with all the other kindergarten moms, who, mind you, I'm an older mom, okay? So they're all 10 years younger than me, okay? I own these successful businesses, blah, blah, blah. So I'm standing out there and I'm doing parking lot presentations, trying to get them interested to come to my house to see this information. And guess how many showed? Two, only because I had food. I offered them food, okay? So my first 24 hours were not the ACN system, okay? I like failed miserably. I felt awful, and I called Mrs. Wagner, and she was like, hey, listen, I told you to, or I didn't tell you, but I encouraged you to go to a training on Saturday. And I said, oh, well, that's where you encouraged me to go. That's an hour from my home. One of my 4 businesses is a retail, and it's a retail nursery, and that's one of our biggest days. It's down economy, so I reduced my staff size, so I have to be there to be there to work. And so I was kind of fighting her on going, and she finally was like, listen, you clearly understand the value of training because you're a highly educated person, and you couldn't have been a clinician if you hadn't been trained, correct? Correct. And she said, then you can't make any money here unless you go to training. So I decided to rearrange my Saturday, and I drove that hour to training. And when I sat in training, it was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is like so cool. So I had a home meeting, or actually I had 2 home meetings. Mrs. Wagner drove 2.5 hours up to my house to do 2 home meetings for me, because you don't present to your own people, because I didn't know what I was doing. So she came up, I had 2 home meetings. I got a business partner out of it, yay. And then she encouraged us to, go down in that hour and go to training. So as my business partner and I go down to training, he's a friend from childhood, and he's not studious. Okay, I love him, but he's not studious. And he knows it. So we're sitting in training, and we're listening to the training, and he's like, oh my God, this is so awesome. Like, we're going to be rich. I'm like, I know, right? But here's what I picked up on. The trainers said the same exact thing they'd said the previous week, because again, I'm studious, okay? So I was like, that's interesting. They're saying the same thing. So they said have home meetings. So we have more home meetings. I had another home meeting. He had some home meetings. So I get another business partner. Now the 3 of us go down. My 3rd week, we go down to training. And now it's me, my 3rd time, my first business partner who's not studious, and it's his 2nd time, and my new business partner who's super smart, okay? So we're sitting there, and I'm between them, and they're going through training, and they start to say the same exact thing. And as they're doing this, click, got it. They say the same exact thing every week. There must be a purpose on this. So as I'm realizing this, he turns to me and says, hey, they said the same thing last week. I was like, shh, pay attention. She leans to me, she goes, we're gonna be rich. I was like, I know, right? And so here's what I figured out, is that every single time I went to training, they said the same exact thing. And I learned how to do ACN sort of by accident, really. That edification I taught you, remember I told you I wasn't good at it in the beginning, because I understood that there was some sort of edification, but I hadn't been to a leadership or anywhere where somebody trained me specifically on that edification. So when I was doing these home meetings and I was trying to create value, because that's what I understood edification to be, I was like just trying to create so much value, I talked forever. Okay. So when I started realizing that they were saying the same thing over and over again, I was actually just taking notes during the presentation, what they were saying in each box, outside of what the box said. And then I was taking notes what they said in training, because here's what I understood. The people who were training were making the most money, and I wanted to make the most money. And so I understood quickly that in order for me to be successful at this, then I needed to learn what it is they're saying, because if they ever invited me to be up on the stage to train, I needed to deliver the way they had been delivering. So now let me tell you this, that I didn't have any leadership in my marketplace. None, zero, zip. I was the leader. Okay. So I had to then promote to my small but growing team on to go with me to the events, to the BOM nights, Tuesdays, and to the Saturday trainings. Now, mind you, I was driving for an hour, okay, each direction. But what I was also doing was I was picking up my people, because if you pick them up, they're guaranteed to go, right? And I also understood that I wanted them in the front row. So I actually would leave my house 2 hours early before the event on a Tuesday night, or 2 hours early on a Saturday, and I would pick up my team. I had a big SUV. And we would get to the location, and I would put us in line. And we were always the first in line, because when that door opened, I wanted them to meet the leaders and shake their hands, and I wanted to beeline to the front row. So this became a known thing. My first business partners duplicated what I did. They started picking up their new business partners and guests. And so we had multiple cars doing this, and we'd all meet at least 45 minutes before the event so we could get in line and we could get the first in line. And it was really funny because other people in the marketplace started picking up on that, and they tried to beat me to first in line. And so when the few people did, it was like, whoa, no, that's my spot, right? So then unbeknownst to me, I created a habit. I told people, just listen, just go straight to the front row and sit on the right. So I came home one day and Brad asked me, how many people, because he wasn't building with me, he goes, how many people did you have? And I was like, oh, I don't know. And I was trying to like count in my head, right? So the next event, I told all my leaders, everybody sit in the front, get there early, sit in the front, sit in the right. So we took up the first 3 rows. So I was counting heads, right? So I go home and I told Brad, and whatever the amount was, 25 or whatever, right? So I was like, woo! Then it became a game. I wanted to see every week the increase. Mr. Thomas calls it real estate, right? How much real estate do you have in the room? And so the idea that this business of duplication, my team was duplicating me in that we all sat. So then it became the Sacramento marketplace coined it Roeder Right. I was all, that's cool. And anybody who sat Roeder Right who wasn't a part of my team felt kind of weird, like, oh. And it was funny, I noticed that, so I wasn't recognized for any of the promotions because I didn't have any leadership in the room to tell them I was being promoted. But the leaders in the room, I kept telling them of my team's promotions. So they're finally like, hey, you must be having promotions. I was like, yeah, don't worry about me. So then they figured out I was really close to regional director. And they started saying, listen, when you hit regional director, we're going to have you train. Okay, I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it because I've been listening from day one of all of you saying the same thing in each different topic. So I'm ready. Let's do this. Well, I noticed one time I got up and the room was just huge. It's like 200 people. And towards the back were some of my teammates, and they were sitting in the back and they were like, there's no seats up there for us. I don't like sitting back here without the team. People felt weird not arriving early, because on time you're late, right? Not arriving early, not being able to sit with the team, not having their guests be a part of the experience of Roeder Right. So that's kind of and then it just kind of grew. The people who drive the farthest tend to pay the most attention. I had 100 people who were driving about an hour to go to training twice a week. So that's how we hit regional vice president. Yes, our company, our team expanded. First was New Mexico, then everywhere else, right? So we ended up with business partners all around the country, and then eventually international. That was super cool. Australia was our first country out of the area, and then England. But the idea that we were creating that culture, that family thing, it was very professional, but people knew. Even if the regional, some of our regionals were 4 hours away. Oh my God, right? I would literally get up in the middle of the night, get dressed, and go around in my SUV, picking up as many people as I could, especially guests, driving them the 3 to 4 hours, getting there 45 minutes early so we could be in line so that my guests, and our team could sit in the front row. We were not the team that showed up. If the event started at 9, we were not the team that showed up at 9 to grab a seat. So the level of, ask yourself, what kind of business do you want? When you ask yourself what kind of business do you want, then you create that, and then that's what's going to duplicate. And even if you're a team of one, right, so you can still create the business you want. I know we're not physically getting together. We will, but on your BOM webinars, on your customer acquisition trainings, on the events, are you logged in while the music's going on? I like that cool little countdown thing. That was cool, right? But are you logged in advance? Are you one of the first ones on watching everybody get on? Or are you jumping on time? And as it's starting, you're connecting to audio. So then that's what's going to duplicate for your team and for your guests. So what kind of business do you want? Are you doing those behaviors now? That way, when you do get a team, it'll duplicate. I'll tell you what, I have an executive team leader in my organization that does not miss an event. Hands down, does not miss an event. She's always early. She's always the last to leave. The only time she doesn't attend an event is when she's sick, and I literally tell her, don't you dare show up, right? You're sick. Nobody wants you. Those are, but I have to force her to stay home. But we have a BOM, we have a Saturday training. No. But here's why I know she's going to go regional vice president, because she doesn't miss an event. She's there early. She's the last to leave. She's always helpful. She's friendly to the guests. So she, even though she has a small team, she's creating the environment. She's recruiting consistently, personally recruiting, consistently getting customers. So she's doing what she would expect other people to do. So a little bit more than my first 30 days, but my first 30 days. I didn't make the kind of money that Mrs. Driscoll made. So I made the bonus that was available, which was $500. What? I was busy and I didn't have like time, and I hadn't wrapped my head around the concept until I attended that third training. So I might be smart, but I'm slow, I guess. So.
Well, you know, I'm going to jump in. It's not what somebody else made, it's what you did. And that makes it more real, because everybody can't be like Miss Charles and Driscoll, let's face it. But, you know, just to get in and make $500 on an investment of $290, you know, at that time, $500, wonderful. That's powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and the dividends are coming. So I like the idea what you just said. I'm going to kind of regurgitate what you said, everybody, because I'm taking notes over here. She said people who were in front that were training were making the most money. And that motivated her. See, notice that she didn't need motivation. She knew what she had to go do. That's the sign of a true leader, you know? And then she also said there's no leadership in her area. So why do we always have to wait till somebody shows up? See, that's the sign of a true leader. She decided, tag, I'm it. You know, we're driving one way to a training. They said maybe we can't get people to go halfway across town. It's so ridiculous. But ain't this amazing how people drive an hour every day each way for a job? Ain't that crazy? It's crazy to me. You mean I gotta, you know, it's so funny to me. And then she said, what? She had to drive, she got up 2 hours before and made sure they got there 45 minutes early. You know, here's what I wrote down, and Mr. Bree Clemens just hit me up. Why don't everybody, because I normally do today, I was talking to ACN on the phone. That's why I was a little late getting on here, corporate. But why can't everybody get on like I do 10 minutes before the Zoom call? Some of you guys zoom right there, right? No, get on there 10 minutes early. It's the same thing, showing up early, but show up 10 minutes early for the Zoom call. Powerful. She also said, get in front of get the front row. And her team was growing. They don't want to sit in the back. Row to right. I like that. I like that row to right. And then she had 100 people driving. Now, if she could drive 100 people, can we get 100 people on a Zoom call? What do you guys think? Wow. And she also said something that's very powerful. I wrote down in my notes. People that drove the furthest paid more attention to the information. Get on it early. Bring people with you. Ms. Roeder, a few statements in closing, or any questions you guys might have for Ms. Roeder, since nobody had anything earlier. Now that she opened up a little bit, maybe any questions for her on what she said?
Mr. King's raising his hand, but Dalia, I apologize, I'm butchering that. She says she does have a testimonial about the edification. So whomever wants to go. Do I have to unmute you?
I think they can unmute themselves.
Okay, good. Oh, here, let me, there you go. Dalia, there you go.
Dalila.
Dalila, that's so pretty.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Roeder.
Good
I just wanted to let you know that it was very helpful, that last training about edification. Actually used that template on the last Zoom that I coordinated with Mr. Baker. And previously, you know, I've done edification for him, or spoken about him, but it's really tough to scramble all the thoughts because he has so many qualities that it's really hard to narrow it down and then use those repeatedly with that same structure.
Yep.
I found myself every time trying to pull different thoughts into my conversation while edifying. So I actually wrote it down, and it was an exercise, kind of like an essay. It had a structure. So I started to analyze what were the top and just narrow down what were the top qualities that he carries and that can, you know, show in those categories of the dolphin, the shark. And so that was a really neat exercise. So I really appreciate it. The beginning, I did speak about my why, and then I went into talking about my present situation. So I think I talked a little bit too much about myself to where I didn't let him or leave anything for him to say back to me as edification. So I need to work on that. But I think the edification about him was a little bit easier for me as far as narrowing down those top qualities. Like I said, it's really tough because he has so much experience in the business and a lot of different qualities that, you know, it's hard to narrow it down and use that repeatedly and just duplicate it every time. So that was really helpful. I just wanted to give you the credit.
So 3 things. One, I'm sure you guys can all see each other's squares, right? So we talked a while back about humility. So Mr. Brian Baker is absolutely phenomenal. You are correct. There's so many qualities about him it's difficult to narrow it down. And that's a good leader. Like Mr. Thomas, I could do a 10-minute edification. My first call, I did a 6-minute edification, right? So, but my first point about what Dalia, I'm getting it wrong. I'm sorry. You're so beautiful. Anyway, about Mr. Baker, if you guys saw his expression, he's all, I love that. He's very humble. I know he knows the level of success he's created, but his level of humility is why he continues to have success and promote through the compensation plan. So humility, remember we talked about that. Secondly, I love that you wrote it down and I love that you practice because we talk about practicing the invitation script with the newest person, right? I call it my baby blanket. I think I talked about this, that for the presentation, my first couple presentations, I had the overview and I wrote notes in each box and it faced me as I talked to people. And Mr. Thomas came along, he's like, you need to hold it, and I pointed and I was like, I'm not ready, right? So eventually my baby blanket got to where I remembered the presentation and then I could use a fresh overview and point, look in box 1, look in box 2, look in box 3, right? So it's something new, like an edification template. Absolutely. I'm proud of you that you wrote it down and you structured it. And I assume that you practice. And then the thing I forgot to also say is when we're edifying for big groups, yes, we want to hit all those 4 personalities. However, if we have the occasion where we're going to be presenting a leader in a two-on-one situation. So say, for example, let's say she was introducing Mr. Baker to me and she knew my dominant personality traits are shark, then she could tailor the edification more shark-like because that's my dominant personality if she knows that about me. She doesn't, you use all of it still because he's a real human, but you can definitely hone in on the personality part.
You know, I would go as far as say, whatever you're going to say, cut it in half, because a lot of times what people do, they repeat the same thing in the same conversation while they're introducing the person. They'll say the same thing 2 or 3 times about the same person. So cut whatever you're going to say in half and just get to the point. Bottom line, just get to the point. Yeah. That's the key.
And that's why
I want to thank Mr.
If you're organized in advance, then you won't repeat yourself per se.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And I noticed that about people. They repeat it twice and they'll say it again. And it's like, oh my God, we got it the first time. Yeah. But that's why a good public speaker, you're going to write it down and make sure you don't repeat it and just stay to the script. Hey, we got another gentleman out here. I want to give Mr. Jenkins out here. It's a brand new IPO out in the Carolina area. It's brought in by Mr. Curtis Evans, and he's got a question. He's got his hands up. So, Mr. Jenkins, and I'm glad to see you're feeling better today, sir. Matter of fact, let me tell you something before he says something. Here's a brand new IPO. I've called them. Hey, why are you not on the call? Hey, why are you not on the call? See, that's another thing, you guys. Get your new people on this call. I call him up 3 days in a row. Hey, get in the habit of getting on these calls. I didn't see him on the call. I call him, hey, why are you not on the call? See, you guys are getting people in the business, but what are you doing to get them in the habit of getting on these calls? And that's why I would suggest every one of you start a list of new people or people in your organization, 5 minutes for the call or 10 minutes. Hey, get on the call. Remind them, get on the call. You know, and then they get the habit of it. Psychology still takes us 21 days to figure that out. It's your job to get your new people on the call. He'll tell you, I've been calling, hey, you're not on the call. Where you at? Get on the call.
Yep.
And now he's starting to get the habit. Mr. Jenkins, you had a few words, something you want to say?
Yeah, I took your advice. I've added this to my schedule. So my alarm goes off 10 minutes before. As a matter of fact, I was on probably an hour before, and I refused to get off just to make sure I'm on. And I've been on the whole hour until we started because of the difference between time zones. But I have a question. It might sound silly, I'm not sure, but when we talk about, when you said what kind of business do I want? Are we talking monetarily, structurally? Because it just kind of flew over my head. And I would like to be able to hone in on the understanding of what it is I want out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And the answer is yes. So when we talk about what kind of business do we want, what I mean by that is multifold. So what are your goals? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? So are you looking to accomplish senior vice president? You missed a call a while back because you weren't started yet. But I had talked about my realization that not everybody wants senior vice president. Some people are looking to get to regional director or regional vice president, and that's their goal set. So it's not my place to impose my, shark-like goals on everybody. So you decide what level of success you want and when you want it in. So, and it doesn't even have to be a position. The founders have designed our compensation plan that our residual income, we can be in control of our residual income based on how many personal customers we're going to go acquire. We can gain more overriding residual income based on how many people we're going to help get customers. Now, this is a business of duplication. So when I say decide what kind of business you want, everything we do duplicates, good or bad. So you showing up an hour early, that's phenomenal. So that is potentially what's going to duplicate in your business as long as you continue to do it and you articulate to your team that you're doing it and you encourage them to do it. So this is a business of duplication. So if you get on the call at 9:05 2 days a week, then that's what's going to duplicate. It's interesting because sometimes we'll get off team calls and I'll call an IBO that I know wasn't on it, and I'll go, oh my God, wasn't that an amazing testimony or amazing training by so-and-so? And they're like, oh gosh, gee, I wasn't on it. I'm not doing it to make them feel bad. I'm doing it because I know their reason why. I know what their goals are, and I know I can't help them get there unless we speak the same language. And it's easier to speak the same language when we're at the same training. It's easier to speak the same language when we hear the same thing, and then we can talk about it. So the edification template that I talked about, I trained last Friday. For those of you who liked that edification template that were on the training, now you guys can banter and talk and plan and practice and all that, because now you're speaking the same language because you heard my style of training of the edification template. So that's what I mean when I mean, decide what kind of business you want. What level of success are you looking for, whether it's a position with momentum, a certain number of qualified CQs every month, or whether it's a certain dollar amount in residual income, whether it's a certain customer point. What do you want? What do you want? And then go backwards in that the business of duplication. We talked about this before, and Mr. Dean Trolley said it in a way on Friday, be, do, have. We have to, when we decide what we want, we have to do the things it takes to get there, and then we'll have what it is we're looking for. So this being a business of duplication, set up it from the very beginning what's going to duplicate to get you and your organization to what it is that you're looking to get you and your organization to. And on another note, trust me when I tell you, you want people in your team to go faster than you. You want people in your team to show up and say, I've got this. Let me lead my team. Because when you find people like that, you find people like me. That's what I ended up doing. we're going to run through the compensation plan and you have an opportunity to make a ton of money on that. So when somebody shows up wanting more than you, can go faster than you, embrace that, allow that, encourage it. So hopefully that helps, Mr. Jenkins. Okay. Mr. King, you had a question or you raised your hand?
Actually, more of a, just for you is like when you start talking about duplication, it's ironic because whether or not you believe it or not, you'll see it.
Yeah.
But this is just props to you because I pay attention with Mr. Tom, I mean, with everybody, but one of your traits is you're always listening, which is amazing because I can't do that a whole bunch. I try, but I think it was a team thing because I've always been part of the team in fire, and I always try to get the team to work. But when I see other teams do it, and I want to give you props because it's like we're doing that. So I'm coming with the team. The team and I will be here at this time, and you always come with the team. Kind of solidifies that the team thing, and it's always good to see. So I want to give you your props on that, and thank you.
Thank you. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. And I'm going to tell you right now, Mr. King, you've gotten significantly better at listening first. So Mr. King and Mrs. Guerrero and I have talked about that skill set as leaders, being able to listen. So I'll end with this. And if Mr. Thomas has me back, if you want, I can train more about this part of it. But the skill set of listening is going to advance your business tremendously. And here's what I mean about this. Oftentimes what ends up happening is somebody asks a question, instead of waiting and listening for the answer, they're already formulating what they're going to say next. So they're not actually listening to the answer of the person that you asked the question of. So I give you an offer. When you are engaging with a guest and you're getting them to see value in ACN when the presentation's over and you're closing them, I hate that word, but whatever, you're helping them, you're answering their questions for them to decide if they're going to do this with us. When you ask a question, the first person to answer loses. Meaning, if you ask a guest, are you ready to get started? Let them answer. So many times I hear people ask a question and then just get blah, 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 or as they're, oh dear God, don't represent, by the way. That's the worst thing you can do. But give people a moment to think. Give people a moment to formulate their thought. This is not, so we're not new to this. This is exciting. Like we know, the person seeing it for the first time. I'm sure Mr. Jenkins can probably tell us all. When he saw it the first time recently, he was like, wow, that's a lot of information. People need a moment to think and to process. So if you interrupt their thinking, their process, then it's over, it's done. Then don't even bother engaging with them to close them because you're not giving them that minute to process and think. Really allow them their own emotions. Silence is powerful. Silence is uncomfortable, but silence is powerful. And when you can be silent, you know you are in control of yourself. And that's where a lot of that confidence, that self-confidence we talked about, right? Comes like my husband coming out in a dress, right? Silence is powerful. So listen more without thinking about what you're going to say next. Somebody wrote, can a person choose to build any culture? What is that? Tim, what does that mean? Any culture. Oh, here, do I have to unmute you? Here we go.
Sorry, I'm at work, so I had to turn off my steamer here. Real quick, what I mean by that is if a culture is built by duplication, then it would seem to me that we have to choose to build the culture we want. We have to be very intentional. So my question is, if you're choosing, can you build qualification in 2 hours? Can you build showing up early? Any culture you want, both good and bad, by being intentional.
Great question and great statements. So here's my experience, and this is a little bit of the psychology training that I've had, but here's my experience. We're only in control of ourselves. So we set up how we want our business to be, but then human nature takes over for our team and they're going to do what they want to do. So have you guys heard the saying, 80% of the 80% of the people do 20% of the people do 80% of the work, right? Okay. So if 20% of the people do 80% of the work, what we're trying to do is create. Mr. Provenzano says as leaders, it's our responsibility to provide hope and opportunity and the environment to win. Okay. So if our job is to provide the environment to win, we don't get to choose what other people do. We can only be in control of what we're in control of, and what we're in control of is what we do, and we do what we want duplicated. Okay. If somebody chooses not to duplicate the qualities of success in ACN, they get to choose to do that. You're nobody's boss. Nobody's boss, right? And nobody's your boss. That's the good news, right? And so when you create that environment, the perfect ACN environment, and you get a few people who are off doing their own random thing, okay, it's their business. It's their business. As long as they're following the rules of the industry and the rules of ACN, they get to build their business from where they are down, however they want to build it. However, if you're not doing the activities and modeling successful behavior, then your ability to coach them on how to do ACN right doesn't exist. But if you're doing the successful ACN activities and you see other people doing things that maybe aren't as productive and successful, your ability to coach and train to say, hey, are you finding the results? You're getting the results that you're looking for. No, I'm not. I'm so frustrated. Fantastic. If you're open to it, I'd love to share with you what it is we're doing, because we are getting the results we're looking for. Do you see how that works out that way? Right? But when somebody goes on their own, they get to. You're not their boss, and nobody's your boss. And, as long as you're following the laws and the rules of the industry and the ACN company, they get to do what they want. Can you explain why the ACN system is repetition and how it's no different than a job or business system? Oh, that's a good question. Oh, you're welcome, Tim. And hopefully I explained that the way you wanted. Okay, so how is ACN system a business of repetition and it's no different than a job or business system? It actually is, I'll give you an example. It is the perfect example of being a business owner. In that, imagine if you owned a McDonald's, okay? Depending on where you are in the country or the world, it's at least $1.5 million, sometimes 2.5, depending on the area, okay? Here in my town, it's like $1.5 million to start a McDonald's. So the brilliance of McDonald's, now I've never had a fast food hamburger, so I've never had a McDonald's fast food hamburger, but apparently people like them, okay? So around the world. So I love their French fries. So when you spend your money to purchase into a McDonald's system, they already have it laid out. You go to, McU, they're going to tell you, the fries are on the left, the soda machines here compared to the drive. So it's actually soda machine drive-through. That's how I know this. Soda machine drive-through French fries. So it's all of them are organized the same way because they've gone through enough pain to figure out the most efficient way to get food out the fastest and create the happiest experience for the customers so they can be the most profitable. So ACN, we've already done that. We've already gone through the pain to figure out how to have the best BOM, how to set up the best PBR, how to do the best inviting so that we can be the most profitable in the shortest amount of time. So ACN being a system is like McDonald's having a system. Now, the difference is if you buy into a McDonald's and you don't follow their rules, you're going to lose your franchise. Here in ACN, you can choose to put your French fries where the soda machine goes and your soda machine way in the back because you're not breaking any rules. But when somebody wants a soda, now you got to walk that whole distance to go get them a soda. It's not efficient. It's not time efficient. The customer's not happy with you because it took longer than any other McDonald's I went to type of thing. Does that make sense? So when we create a system of efficiency, that's what we're duplicating so that we can help everybody be profitable in the shortest amount of time. Because when you help somebody be profitable quickly, they're more likely to stick around. That's why. Oh, not just out of the gate. When we help people be profitable quickly and consistently, that's when they stick around. And that is why the founders put together that bonus structure that we can get every single month by doing our own customer acquisition, because they know we need to be consistently profitable. So that's why, so hopefully that makes sense, in that ACN being a system, and it is different than a job because nobody's your boss. You have to follow the rules of the industry. You have to follow the rules of ACN, but nobody is your boss. If you want to be inefficient in our eyes and put your soda machine in the back of your building, fine, do it. When you're ready to see how we build business and are profitable, then we'll be happy to show you our structure. Nobody's your boss. That's how it's different from a job, but it's most successful businesses have a system. Even in my traditional business, we have a system because we want to be efficient and effective and be the most profitable. It comes down to profit, you guys. That's what business comes down to. That help?
Everybody, can we thank Ms. Roeder for just a wonderful, outstanding call today, and show her some love out there. There we go. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Excellent speaker. Thank you. You know, and notice what he said. Now tidbit. Here's another tidbit. Guys, ladies, get all your new people on the call. Put together a little list and text them every let them know. Like now, Mr. Jenkins on fire. Why? Because now I got them thinking the right way. So let's do that. Let's do that. Hey, this is a little FYI. In about 15 minutes, I'm going to be on a live Zoom call with Mr. Roof. That number, if those that want to join in real quickly, is 492-17-84129. I repeat, 492-17-84129. One more time, 492-17-84129. It's a Facebook Live. I'll be doing it in about 15 minutes with him and his group. And we're going to be talking about general business and as a whole. We're going to sneak ACN in there, try to get some people on there for that. And don't forget, I'm pretty excited about that. That's a Zoom live call I'm going to be doing here shortly. And don't forget tonight is what? Happy hour. Tonight is what? Happy hour at 6. Maybe Miss Roeder could come back with her nice pink girly drink again. Maybe, who knows, maybe we'll get Mr. Brad, put some heels on too, and do a little Mexican dance for us. And, you know, we'll have some other people that'll be dropping into the happy hour tonight just to show up and show out and just have a good time. So bring your libations, whatever you want to drink, or dip your chips and dip, whatever you want to have. And let's have a good time tonight, because I know things are starting to open up around the country, but here again, let's open our hearts up. Let's still continue with our happy hour, but also still maintain a way to get together in camaraderie, because while the sun is shining, we should shine with it. But let's also continue building our business. I know it's Friday. Don't let it's Friday, but then again, business continue going on. And like Ms. Roeder said, Mr. Greg Parmesan, let's give everybody an even track to run on. That's so important, and a great track. And with that, I want to thank everybody out there. I'll see everybody that's going to participate on that Zoom live in a minute, in 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes. But I'll see everybody tonight. If you need me, call me. And remember, it's Friday. Continue to talk to people. And one other thing I want to say that she said that was very powerful, which is it's okay to silence up, and also as you're talking, pause. Power in pausing as well. Ms. Roeder, thank you so much. You're a sweetheart. We appreciate you so much. Dear friend, we will have you back soon, very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody. God bless. See everybody now in a happy hour. Bye-bye.